Catherine.
Hi, Elsa. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining today. You're my second guest ever, so it's very exciting.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited.
Of course. Why don't you introduce yourself so that everybody knows who you are?
Okay, so yeah, I'm Catherine Sheppard, and I run a personal styling business called The Lifestyled, which is essentially um, it's a business that offers like personal styling for women like you and me, as opposed to like celebrity styling or red carpet styling. It is it's basically a way for regular women to get to have amazing wardrobes too.
I love that so much. And I think that's actually how I found you. I was like on Instagram and was so drawn to your aesthetic, and also just that it feels so approachable, like that I could just reach out and be like, I'm in desperate need of help and I don't know what my personal style is, whereas I would never have like thought about it otherwise. um,
Well, thank you. Sorry, I have to adjust here because I'm getting weird lighting situations. Yeah, I mean it's kind of that's exactly how I felt about it when I started it. I really just felt like, fashion is supposed to be fun, and I think people enjoy it, and a lot of people like shopping, or maybe they don't like shopping, but we all want to look good, right? And I just feel like styling was something that when I started this, it was like something that only celebrities had. Only celebrities had stylists. And I just didn't need to be that way. I just felt like, we all have lives that we want to show up for, and we all want to look cute. We all want to have a style that really represents who we are. And sometimes we need a little bit of extra help.
yeah, I feel like I always need a little bit of extra help. There's so much that goes into, I feel like, creating the perfect wardrobe, or not even perfect, but like even a wardrobe that you're like semi happy with.
Yeah.
Um, and then once you do get it nailed down, then it's like you gain 10 pounds, or you have a baby, or you change your job, or like something happens that completely upends, most of the things that you have in your closet, and you kind of have to start all over again, is how I have felt about fashion throughout my life.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something that kind of gets people really discouraged. Like, there's so many kind of personal hangups when it comes to fashion or style. Like, we all get really frustrated when we're a different size than we want to be, or when we gain weight or have kids or whatever. And when things kind of shift or change, or even just the feeling of like having to keep up with trends.
Yeah,
I think people think that having style means that you are like trendy,
mhm,
and it's really not the case.
totally. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I feel like I've never really been one to follow the trends. Mostly, I mean, just coming from like my personal philosophy on like, I don't need to have every piece of the latest fashion. I would rather buy, like longer lasting classic pieces, so that it's, more environmentally friendly, it's more wallet friendly. Like, and also it's just my personal style is very, very simple. So I tend to not love a lot of the trends. But that was really one of the things that I wanted to chat with you about, is like all of your brilliant thoughts on how people can be more conscious about what they're bringing into their wardrobes. Uh, if there's like awesome brands that you know about, or that you kind of find yourself going back to over and over again because of either like the quality they provide, or just the beautiful style. I'm sure from my business, this is like the number one project that we get, is like, I have way too much stuff. I
Hmm.
don't like anything that I'm wearing, and I can't even fit it in my closet. And so we see people just purging massive amounts of clothing and accessories. And I love being able to talk to those clients about like why they made those choices, what are some better, maybe like environmental or financially friendly choices that they can make in the future, but also like how can they go into their closet and look at everything and just be like, I love it. I love everything I own. I want to wear it all.
Yes, yes, 100%. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head is like when it comes to having stuff that we actually genuinely love, it means we like put thought into choosing it. So think about all the reasons why people buy something. Like it was on sale. I was shopping with my friend. We don't get this as much anymore because we don't like go shopping with friends as much anymore. But I just remember like
Imaginary.
back in the day when I used to always shop with friends, it would be like, oh, my friend told me it looked great on me, so I bought it even though I didn't love it. Or I saw it on the mannequin, or I saw it on someone else, or in this case, it would be like I saw it on Instagram, I saw somebody else wearing it. I think sales are a big one. Like thinking that because something's a deal, like you have to buy it. And it's like those are always the things that we end up not wanting to wear, we don't reach for. And I think
Donated.
yeah, it ends up getting donated. So when you think about the cost per wear of something, when you think about like you spend a certain amount on something and then you wear it X amount of times, if it's something you don't genuinely love and feel really, really represents you and makes you feel like your best self, you're never going to reach for it. And you ended up paying, you know, $200 or whatever to wear it one time or two times. Whereas you could save your money and invest in something that's really, really great and perfect for you. And then you're wearing it at least once a week. Or if it's something like a pair of shorts, like denim shorts for the summer, like you're wearing it almost every day, you know, like
Like you'll
it's just
wear them summer after summer, which is awesome.
exactly. And you just like, you love the way they fit. They get better with time. They get better as they get more like washed and worn. And the same goes for like jewelry, shoes, like things that you just like, you can mix and match into different outfits. So let's just say you take a base, and I'm not sure if this is totally answering your question. I may be going off on a tangent, but
Love it.
if you take like a base outfit, like a pair of great jeans, like vintagey high-waisted jeans, and a great white t-shirt, you could wear that exact base outfit multiple times a week and you could just alternate how you're wearing it. Like one day you could wear it with a great pair of sneakers and just the plain t-shirt, and then the next day you could wear it with like a really cute pair of mules and some like layered jewelry, and you've like really dressed it up. So having those really good basics in your wardrobe and then having maybe some accessories that you love, that right there is a great base for a wardrobe.
Yeah.
So it's sorry, go ahead.
No, it's so, because I feel like that's what I'm always drawn to is like what's the simplest outfit that I can put on right now, and it's always going to be like jeans and some sort of a solid tee. I used to wear heels like every day, and then I had surgery on both my feet, so that's out the window. But that was
who can do that these days?
Cute heels, like dark blue jeans, whatever, a nice top. And then before, when you and I were chatting on the phone last week, I think I told you, like, now I walk into my closet and I don't have a problem with clutter. I really don't own a lot of stuff. And I do, like, shoes are the one thing that I'll spend more money on because I just keep them for so long. And it's very important that I'm, like, comfortable if I'm walking all day. But I look at my closet and it's like all I have are these, like, long, flowy boho dresses, and they're all really patterned. And I'm like not drawn to it. I don't want to wear them because I just want to wear like the simplest, prettiest thing. But for some reason, it's not what I'm buying over and over again. And it's
totally. And yeah, it's like, it's totally one of those things. And this is like what we were talking about on the phone. This idea that like, okay, we're in this really weird time right now where we are allowed to only wear what we actually want to wear. So if you have a bunch of boho dresses in your wardrobe, chances are you bought those because of some other reason. Like you had a certain event to go to, or we discussed you had a trip that you were going on, or maybe it's just like certain events you find yourself at. It's the type of thing people are wearing, so you felt like you needed to buy it. And now we're all stuck at home. So the things we actually reach for every day, like if it's not sweats and you're actually getting dressed into an outfit, you're going to reach for the things you really, really love. So it's like kind of it's like shining a spotlight on our style in that way, because it's like allowing us to really take a look at what our favorite things really are. Like I've noticed that, I love wearing tops with shorts, and I've noticed that I always reach for the white tops, like the plain white. Maybe they're ruffly or maybe they have different details, but the white ones are the ones I always go for, because it's kind of like an elevated version of a plain white tee.
Yeah.
And the more patterned colors, like I don't really reach for those. And so I was like, I thought this morning when I put this top on, I was like, I really should just stick to buying more white blouses, because even though you don't want to repeat, you don't want to like buy things that feel like what you already have. It's like, okay, I have 2 white blouses that I keep going back and forth between. I could probably use maybe 1 or 2 of those different white blouses that I can just like alternate between, because I'm going to reach for those more than my like blue floral tops or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a moment that we can kind of like realize that about ourselves,
And it's so funny because now like I'm reaching for like boyfriend jeans. Like I'm less inclined to wear like the really skinny, super tight denim, and I'm more just like relaxed, kind of cut off vibe. Flip flops. I'm in flip flops all day, every day.
Totally.
I was like, oh, this is like the root of my like childhood. I grew up in Southern California all day, every day. It was just like hot, sunny, and so it was like flip flops, cut off shorts, like a plain white tank top or something so simple. And now
Yeah,
very much what I'm craving again, and it's hilarious that I like just don't have that in my closet.
totally. And I think that happens a lot, where we like think we think we have it all figured out, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a second, if I'm actually thinking about what makes me happy, it's different than what I have in my closet. And you can take that knowledge and use that to almost create a new style based on what you actually love. And when you shop in the future, or when you purge your closet, you can be making those decisions based on what you genuinely want for your style, as opposed to all these other factors and like different events and things. Because even if you go to an event that you think most people are going to be wearing boho dresses, you can still be wearing your own thing that's not a boho dress. Like you can still do your own thing.
Thank you. I have permission now, and I'm going to go to everything in like baggy jeans and a t-shirt.
Yes.
A cute t-shirt, an elevated blouse.
Of course.
No, it was such a crazy realization when you said that, and you're like, well, you were probably buying something for an occasion, and I was like, oh my gosh, literally half of the dresses that are hanging were because I was going to Morocco, and I felt like I needed to look like Morocco, like how I picture Morocco in my head. And it's so funny because I just have never thought of myself as like buying things without being truly conscious of why I'm doing it. And that was like such a good example of me experiencing that. So at least now I know like I need to stop buying patterns because I don't love them visually when they're hanging in my closet. I find it to be very overwhelming, and that's the ultimate reason why I'm not grabbing them. Speaking of basics though, do you have like your go-to brands that you think make like the best elevated, just really simple basic stuff?
I do. So this is kind of like, it's going to be different for everyone. There are some brands that I always consistently recommend for most people. But I do just want to say that I think everyone's basics are going to be different, because some people just have different tastes, and somebody might say that like a boho dress is a basic for them because that's what they reach for all the time. But I mean, to answer your question, I think some of my favorite brands for like the go-to everyday type stuff, the Great. This top is from the Great. Their t-shirts are the best. Their matching sweatsuits. Like I've gone on multiple long rants about their sweatsuits. I just love them.
Make them look very glamorous. So
Well, thank you. But I mean, we're getting out of sweatsuit season, but I just love their basics. I love their comfy clothes. I love their t-shirts so much, like sweatshirts. Just everyone needs at least a couple of things from the Great. I also love Jenny Kane. I just feel like her stuff is in terms of your kind of everyday basics, like capsule wardrobe stuff. I mean, the sweaters, the mules. She has some great lounge pieces, some good t-shirts, slip dresses, just really good basics that are very well thought out, very curated, and good quality. And they do a lot of sales these days too, which is great. So you can get some things for 20 or 25% off, which is great.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's,
another,
I mean, Jenny Kane might not be like in everyone's ideal budget for basics, but that's such a good example to me of like, this is where you should actually invest a little bit more because the quality is so great that you're going to get a t-shirt and you're going to wear it 10 times longer than you would have if you had bought a t-shirt for a tenth of the price.
yeah, and I always say, you know, it's first of all, I think Jenny Kane, as an example, her stuff has gotten more affordable. Maybe not so much the home decor stuff, like that stuff is kind of new and it's like really expensive. But it's, I mean, it's beautiful, it's amazing. But the clothing I feel like has gotten more affordable in the last few years. I don't know if they've just made some shifts, but it's been, they've gotten into a price range where you feel like you are really, you're investing in a good basic, but it's not so much that you're just like feeling like it's too over the top, you know. It's like,
Awesome.
yeah, you'll definitely put some thought into the purchase where you're gonna like, you're gonna think twice. You're not gonna just like, it's not a drop in the bucket by any means, but it's like, it's a good range. And I think that I've had multiple clients come to me recently and say, you know what, I used to shop more at like mass produced type stores like Free People or whatever, and now I really want to put more thought into where I'm getting my stuff and just like invest more in quality pieces. You know, maybe stuff that's like made in the US or, you know, made locally or just from a brand that's putting some kind of focus in sustainability or you know, and I don't think we all have to be experts on what every company is doing, but I do think that something you can so easily do is put thought into your purchases and buy something you're really going to get a lot of use out of that's not going to become trash to you.
Absolutely. I mean, I know in my earlier years, that was like all of my shopping was fast fashion. Uh, and it was almost like, what's the lowest price point you can get something at? But then I just also didn't feel invested in those pieces. And so it's like, oh, who cares? Like I spilled something on this, now it's ruined and it's just like going in the garbage. Not that I throw clothes in the garbage. We can talk about textile recycling. But, you know, and I don't want that feeling anymore because it doesn't feel great. Like when I think everybody has had the experience of putting on something that they feel truly beautiful in. And for me, at least at this point in my life, that so rarely comes from like a poorly made, bad quality fabric, like the cut isn't right. That's not what I want to feel on my body. And that's not going to give me like the confidence and that sort of like inner glowy feeling when I go out. I do want those like really, like I'd rather just have one sweater all winter but have it be like a gorgeous cashmere sweater that's the best quality that I'm going to keep for the rest of my life.
Well, right. And I think like one good sort of way to think about it is if you had like 10 sweaters in your wardrobe and one of those sweaters happened to be a really nice, beautiful, well-fitting, intentionally purchased cashmere sweater, and the rest were from, you know, hodgepodge of like Free People, you know, Urban Outfitters, whatever. Not to like, you know,
Yeah.
not
They're
to
all
talk
good.
bad. They all have, they're
Brand
all great.
perfect.
They're, yeah, they're all great for their own things. But like, you know, if you just had a bunch of things that you had kind of maybe, yeah, bought on sale, you know, bought from lower price points, Target, whatever, and you will always reach for that nicer sweater. You just will, because when you're like, which one should I wear today? You're going to always go for that one. And you'll even make modifications to your outfit to make that one work before you'll reach for something that you didn't, you know, that you bought just kind of like randomly for $35 and you didn't, didn't think about it. And again, it just goes back to that cost per wear thing.
Yeah. So It's so interesting. I mean, we've worked with clients where, you know, they'll be getting rid of a good chunk of their closet and it still has tags on it. But they'll say, I bought that 5 years ago and I've never worn it. And, you know, I think that's so much of the shopping that comes from not like an actual interest in the piece that you're buying, but it's an emotion that's completely unrelated to like needing a new piece of clothing. So like you're bored, you're stressed, you're, you know, trying to deal with anxiety or something, or you're just like sort of harried and you're at Target and it's like, oh, this was on the clearance rack and it's $3, so why not just buy it? But I don't think we spend enough time thinking about the impact that that then has on our homes, on creating this sort of like overstuffed, really chaotic space, and getting dressed. Like, it's so funny because people really overlook this time of their day, but you're starting your day by looking at your closet space, right? And like,
Yes.
if you're walking in and you're overwhelmed, you're stressed out, you look at things and like immediately you're like, why did I buy that? Why am I so wasteful? Why doesn't this fit my body anymore? Like, this isn't how you want to set yourself up to start your day. And I think we just like, we don't even know that that's happening.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. I feel like our closets for so many of us can be this place of stress and overwhelm. And to have, you know, to have it kind of be almost more of a ritual where you're like, you go into your closet area and you're choosing how you want to show up for that day. And if the things you're looking at are all things you absolutely love, and it's just a matter of choosing what's right for that day you have ahead of you,
Yeah.
even if it is sweats, even if it is, you know, it's like if everything that you have is something you love and feels really good when you put it on and feels like you thought about it before you bought it, you're just you're set up for success so much more. So it all goes, it's like there's so many different steps in the process. Like there's so many different ways we can kind of contribute to like getting towards that goal. And it's like, you know, shopping intentionally, staying away from that clearance rack if you have a tendency to like reach for those things randomly just to get the deal. One
Yeah.
thing I what's that?
Avoid it at all costs.
I mean, I honestly, I think do avoid it. It's also like if you're actually shopping in a store, the clearance rack isn't a fun place to shop. It's
Yeah.
like
It's stressful.
it's stressful. There's so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're like you're rummaging through, and it's like if you like one thing I like to do to keep kind of my eye on the prize, I guess, is I'll make a Pinterest board
Mm-hmm.
for the season, for like the upcoming season. I'll usually do one for fall and one for spring. And I'll just like pin stuff to that board that I see that I'm like, ooh, I would really like to have that this season. And then when I get to a point where I feel like I could shop, I go to that board. And this is basically also what I do for my clients. I create these boards. I go to that board and I choose something from that board, and I make sure that, you know, whatever I'm buying kind of contributes to a need that I have or a hole in my wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way I'm not making any like random purchases that I'm going to later regret and feel like I bought for a reason I wasn't
Yeah.
ready for.
I love that so much because you're not just intentional in what you're purchasing, but also in like how you're approaching the whole shopping experience. So you've eliminated the impulse buys, and like the sort of distractions because you're so narrow, like your focus has been narrowed onto the things that you truly love and that you truly would want to bring into your wardrobe. And I love that. I feel like that is the piece that would reduce so much clutter that ends up in people's closets. And it's funny because I shop the same way, sort of, but I lived in Seattle for a really long time. And so Nordstrom's was like the only place that we ever shopped. And so I used Nordstrom's as like my sort of running Pinterest list.
You just add stuff to the
I
cart.
just add everything to my wish list and then I kind of let it sit for a while. And then if it like goes on sale or something and like I still want it and it's still available in my size, then I'm like, okay, now's the time. Because then I still feel really good about it. I know it wasn't an impulse purchase. This, by the way, is also the greatest way to ensure that your husband and your kids always get you gifts that you really like. they just go to my Nordstrom's wish list for like Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, all the things. And they pick out what they like from what I've already chosen that I like. And then it's a surprise for everyone. It's great.
Yes. Oh, that's genius. That is genius. I love that. And Nordstrom is great. And there, I mean, there's always going to be like a favorite website, a go-to website that people like to use. And it's like, I mean, like you said about impulse buying, you know, there's actually still ways you can, if you like to impulse buy, because sometimes it can be kind of exciting and thrilling to buy something that you weren't planning to buy. You can still do that with intention. Like if you're like, okay, you know, let's just say like it's your birthday and you want to maybe do a little bit of shopping. Of course, this is like assuming we're not in quarantine and stores are open, but like going to like setting aside a certain budget that you maybe have been saving for and knowing that you just want to see where the wind takes you and go to a few of your favorite stores that have things you know you always love. And you just have a little pep talk with yourself first and say, I'm only going to buy something if it really is like, I cannot leave without it. Like, this is not like a no-brainer, non-negotiable. I have to have it. And anything else has to stay behind.
Yeah, I love that. That's so fun. Like the thrill of shopping.
I know. I kind of miss it.
It's funny, in the recent years, I've gotten less and less from being like in a brick and mortar store, unless they're like really cute boutique stores that are like more local to Los Angeles. That's always fun. But I'm just like such a sucker for convenience. I just will order a bunch of stuff and then try it on and send it back.
Yeah. And you know, what's funny is I do the same thing. For the most part, I'd say probably 90% of my shopping is online, especially for clients. But I have found that a lot of people, like going back to, you know, having things in your closet that still have the tag on them, a lot of people cannot get themselves to do returns. Like they will order stuff, even if a store makes it really easy. I've seen this a lot where people feel like I think they just feel like every store has a different policy and they can't keep up with it. And they get like, they order a whole bunch of stuff, and sometimes people just get frustrated because nothing's working out or whatever. And then they just like abandon it and don't return the stuff. And
I get that though. You really have to be disciplined to, like, my husband will not do it unless I swear to him that I will handle all of the returns. He is not interested in doing it. He just wants to go shopping like one time a year and just buy everything all at once and not have to think about it again.
Yep.
But I will do, like, we just decluttered his part of the closet because what else do you do in a quarantine?
Exactly.
And it's the same with him. Like, he has a lot of t-shirts. Like, he honestly takes up 75% of our closet space. And that's fine. Like, he does really wear the stuff that he has, but there's also the stuff that needed to go. And we figured out that like he was keeping all of these t-shirts that he didn't love and would never wear because he didn't have the exact right t-shirt that he wanted. And so when we got to the root of that, then it was like, well, what is it that you want? He's like, I just want a gray t-shirt, a navy blue t-shirt, and the perfect white t-shirt. And so I was like, I mean, let's just buy you the greatest t-shirt, like in each of those 3 colors, and be done with it. And then just don't keep all of these, like, you had like, you know, when you have not great quality cotton and it just like the minute you wash it for the first time, it doesn't look great, or it stretches out, it fades, like it just feels kind of old and not the vibe that you're going for. And so we invested in great, I think they were from Vince maybe. And so it was a little bit more than he would ever spend on a t-shirt, which is fine. I don't think I did the ordering, so he might do that. Yeah. Chad, stop listening if you're watching this ever. But he's had them for a really long time now. We actually ordered these a little bit before the quarantine. And like the white t-shirt, still perfectly white. It holds its shape wash after wash. Like there's no pulling, there's no pilling, there's no stretching out. They just look incredible. And he's so happy. And he goes to like every week he will rewear the same staples, which is so awesome. I feel like that whole story was not related to what we were just talking about. But.
Oh, I didn't even think anything of it, but it's like, I mean, it's true. I think sometimes it's trial and error. Like we have to see the example of how something that we invested in really performs for us. And then versus the thing we bought on a whim that's cheap gets, you know, worn out way quicker and has to be thrown away, or, you know, passed on. um, and you know, it's just like, you really do see that you get what you pay for. And I think even men can you know, get on board with that once they kind of see, because I think like guys especially really like quality things. They like things to like be workhorses that they can really like just make it easy and not have to shop as often, you know, to buy one thing and know that it's going to last them for a long time.
For sure. And I think, you know, like for Chad, he is like a jeans, cute sneakers, button up shirt to work every day kind of guy. But it's like those same jeans are what he would wear with a t-shirt on the weekend, or the same button up shirt then would get a blazer over it. And now we're like, you know, going out to dinner. All these
Yeah.
things nobody can do anymore.
Yeah.
So it's
fun to pretend.
have like such a great capsule wardrobe. And now I feel like he's definitely going in that way. Like he's much less inclined to buy things unless he believes that they're going to last a really long time. I mean, it is a better value financially. He feels better when he's wearing it. But also for someone who doesn't like to shop, that's the dream, to know that you don't have to do this again for a lot longer than if you had these pieces that weren't really lasting, is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I completely, that's what I'm all about. I think just, you know, putting it, it all comes down to like the more thought you put into something, the more like the more we invest in quality, the less we feel inclined to buy stuff, like the more we're happy with what we have. And the more our wardrobe really can like elevate us, as opposed to just feel like it's this constant like, you know, spiral of like trying to, you know, keep up with keeping our wardrobes, you know, updated, and then feeling like something's bad and you have to get rid of it. And like, you know, just the more we invest in quality things, then the more our wardrobe is like,
yeah,
working for us.
And I think if they're things that you love, then it doesn't really matter if it's a trend or not. Like it's something that you still love and you feel great wearing. And so it's going to stand the test of time a lot better than something that you bought because you felt like you kind of needed to dress a certain way.
Yeah, like keep up with the Joneses. I think, you know, well, I mean, luckily these days it feels like even trends are more about capsule wardrobes. Trends are more about having things that are going to last you a while rather than something that's just like really flashy and random.
I love brands like Kuyana.
Yeah, I say Kuyana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where their whole store, like their whole mission is just to provide the best quality, like fewer, I think it's fewer, better things, something like that.
Yeah.
I love that because when you walk into their boutique, it does feel like the perfect capsule wardrobe. It's like, here's the perfect slip dress, the perfect sweater, the perfect tote, the perfect wallet. And then you're just like, oh, done. Like just take one of everything and you have a perfect closet. All the colors are complementary and it's like really good quality, beautiful, simple pieces that then you can accessorize with whatever and make them more exciting.
Totally. And I love for that reason, I love shopping there for gifts for people, because there's always going to be something that's going to be really useful to somebody, something that'll fit into their style, fit into their everyday life, because it's all very, very like intentional, useful things when it comes to, you know, adding to someone's style or whatever.
And they are one of the brands. So talking about not throwing textiles in the garbage, which nobody, like I challenge someone to find a piece of fabric that cannot be recycled in some way. But I don't think that most people know that there is such a thing as textile recycling. And so it's like you do the laundry, you get one sock back, you have no idea what happened to its friend, and so you just throw it in the garbage. But that's not necessary. And obviously that's what contributes to, you know, the landfills and all these things that we don't want to be doing. And now companies are providing really awesome resources that make it so simple for you to recycle your clothes, whether it's because they're stained, they're worn out, they're damaged, or they're just somehow like not able to be resold or donated. And so Kuyana is one of the stores that will take clothing donations. And I think that they partner with like a domestic violence charity. So they're actually passing those donations along to people who can use them. But for items that are not wearable, H&M has drop boxes in all of their stores where you can just take like a bag of like stray socks and a stained tee and whatever, and you just drop them off in the store.
I did not know that H&M did that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's totally awesome. And I feel like it's like starting to sort of combat their, you know, they were getting a pretty bad rep with everybody sort of being more aware of the perils of fast fashion. So it's
Yeah.
they're making it really easy for people to take things that maybe are not standing the test of time and recycle them instead of throwing them away. And so recycled fabrics can become a new fabric again, or like Madewell so Madewell takes any kind of denim as a donation and they turn it into housing insulation. Like there's just so many companies that are doing really cool things.
Yeah.
For that, like even when we don't decide to keep something forever, it still has like a life that's continuing on. And I get really excited about that.
I know. And you know what else is cool is to think about, like, if you are making these types of purchases where you're, you know, investing in a piece that's quality and it's not fast fashion, there will still be a day that that piece no longer serves you for whatever reason. And what I love is that it gives you a chance to, you can even sell that piece and you can make some money back from that investment and like pass it on to the next person, because a lot of people are down to buy, you know, gently used or worn items. So like I keep a Poshmark account going, and I love, you know, taking pieces, like anytime I'm going through my closet, rather than feel like, oh shoot, I spent so much money on this piece, or you know, I invested in this piece and, you know, for some reason I'm not loving it anymore, rather than feel chained to that, or rather than feel like the only option is to give it away. It feels really good to feel like, oh, maybe I can get some of that investment back by listing it for, you know, obviously less than what I paid for it if I've been wearing it. But it's a great way to, like, you know, pass your items on and really appreciate their value, and someone else can then have a new life with it, like it's brand new to them.
It's so awesome. That's one of my favorite things to help clients do as well. Like either selling, if it's high end stuff, selling through the Real Real or Poshmark, like you said. Even like lower end brands, just packaging them up and sending them to ThreadUp. If you have enough in bulk, then you'll get some stuff back. You're not going to become rich by selling things on ThreadUp, but whatever they can't sell for you, they will responsibly recycle. So that's also a really easy way of just being like, okay, here's all my stuff and I don't know what still has value and what doesn't. And they'll decide for you, they'll sell it for you, and then they just, you know, Venmo you or whatever, the money shows up in your bank account at some point.
Yep.
And you're,
Yeah, I love that.
none of it then is ending up in a landfill. And I feel like it's just so good. And it's what, you know, we should all be doing.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you feel like you want to be a little bit more like give to your local community or whatever, you can call up women's shelters in your community. And they I mean, oftentimes they'll have different parameters of you know, what you're allowed to donate or what they'll take, but you can actually then donate the clothes to somebody like in your community who, you know, is going on job interviews or needing it for whatever reason. And I mean, same goes for like kids items and things like that, which is great. So yeah, there's like a lot of options that are not just like dropping it off at Goodwill.
Yeah, totally. And we have a lot of those resources are listed on our website under resources, places to donate.
Amazing. Oh, I'm going to start sending people there.
We add to it all the time, just because we're trying to expand to make sure that we include places that are outside of Los Angeles. But all of the donations that we take from clients, we make sure we bring everything back to my house. So my garage looks like I'm a crazy hoarder. Then we sort everything, and when there's enough of one type of a category, then either we make a delivery or someone comes and picks up stuff. But
oh, that's amazing that you do that for your clients, because I feel like sometimes people just get hung up on how to do it, and they feel like they have to do it perfectly, and it's like, to make it just easy and done. That's wonderful. Yeah.
That was one of the first things. I mean, it's so important to me that we're beyond happy to do it for all of our clients. And so, you know, I also just like, you don't want to go in and work in someone's home and then leave them with all these bags of like, now you have this huge project that you have to try and figure out how to take care of it.
Yep.
So it feels good to help them and take that stress away. And then we also educate them on like where each of the pieces are going so that they feel really good about knowing that they've helped their local community in some way too, which is fun.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Everyone. Do I have any other questions? I think maybe it's the last question. If you have like one really small tip that would just be like a question that we can ask ourselves, like as we're trying to figure out our style, or like how would you even come to know what your personal style is? And I know that's like such a huge question, but if there's like one thing where you're like, it always starts with this.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think there are a lot of questions we have to ask ourselves when we are defining our style, I guess. And I think it really, it starts in your existing closet. I mean, first of all, there's all the logistical questions to ask yourself, like, does this fit me? Like, do I feel good when I wear this? And once you clear out all the things that are like, that technically don't work for some reason, like they haven't fit for years or it's stained and too worn out or whatever, then you're left with only the items that you can wear because they fit you or they are appropriate or they do work for you in some way. But then it becomes really about, does this like speak to me? Is this something that when I open up my closet and I'm going to reach for something, is it something that calls to me it's like something I feel a connection to, or is it something that I just bought for some other reason that is not about honoring me and who I am? I think when it comes to asking yourself one key question, I think the best thing you could do is really think about not necessarily like your life or your day-to-day and all the, because I mean, some of us are in yoga pants all day because we have like, we go from, a morning walk to taking care of our kids, that it's like, that's not your style. That's just like what you need for the day, right? So it becomes a question of like, does this support the person I want to be?
I love that.
So it's not just about like, does this work for me? Is this like, does this work for my life? It's about, okay, if I'm thinking about the ideal version of myself, even if I'm still working to get there, even if I'm still trying to create who that person's going to be, is this piece of clothing supportive of that person?
I love
because
that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no reason why we should be selling ourselves short with our style. Like, your style is the one way you can communicate, or one easy way you can communicate to the world who you want to become. It's this way you can kind of manipulate how people perceive you. So it should be your best foot forward. It should be the ultimate, like, ideal version of yourself. And that doesn't necessarily mean fancy. It doesn't necessarily mean that stuff has to be like expensive or anything. Even on your casual days, you can still be wearing the sweatsuit that represents your ideal self in a sweatsuit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I totally have an ideal self in a sweatsuit. That's so funny.
Right? We all do. We all have an ideal sweatsuit self.
Like really cute, like joggers with like
matching.
Yeah. Well, and especially like as a mom, we have 3 boys. They're all playing sports. It's like a muddy baseball field, whatever. I'm not going to wear like something that I care that much about protecting, but I also, it's like Los Angeles and you're out with all these other moms who are like, they're wearing their finest to the baseball fields.
Totally. And it's like, maybe you're choosing a really, sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, that's always like the thing is like, I want to be comfortable, but I also still want to look cute because I'm out in public.
Right. So that might just be a matter of like investing in some of your comfortable clothes that are super casual, but like the ideal version of that for you. Like, so a really great pair of sneakers that they're going to get a little dirty. You don't mind that, but they're chosen intentionally for that. and for the ideal Elsa at the football field, you know?
I love that. I'm definitely gonna start a Pinterest board for like my future, just general style vision. I think that's such a good way to just really see, like, especially if you're pinning the same kinds of things over and over again.
Yeah, then you'll start to notice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll try shopping only from that and no more patterns.
No more patterns, no more bright colors.
Just need basic monochrome. That's it.
Because that's what that's what you love. That's what you're gonna reach for. It's so funny how we do that. Like we have these tendencies to like bring these things into our wardrobes and you're like, wait, why? Why did I do this?
No, I'm remembering when Chad and I first started dating, we were taking a trip to Cabo and I bought like basically a vacation wardrobe for this trip that made zero sense for who I am as a human being. It was like all of these things that I have never in my life before worn. And not because they're bad, like it was just my mental picture of what this kind of a vacation looked like. And
Yep.
it was like baggy drawstring linen pants and like all this stuff that's like beautiful on someone else, but that like doesn't work with my body shape and isn't my personality and all of that. And so like the whole vacation, I was just not happy with what I was wearing. Like the minute I got home, all of it went to donations.
Well, it's weird because I feel like it takes a lot of work and effort to finally come to the conclusion of what your style is. Like it's kind of that way where you don't see yourself the same way other people see you.
Yeah.
So it's someone else may be like able to define your style like really easily. Be like, oh yeah, like she dresses like this and she, loves this kind of thing and this is how I see her. And then when you go to describe your own style, you really struggle because you're like, well, there's so many different factors, there's so many different things you're thinking about, so many different reasons why you do different things. And it's like sometimes it takes these steps. It's kind of like your husband with the t-shirts. It's like maybe it wasn't until you guys were going through his wardrobe where you asked the question, well, what is the t-shirt that you're looking for? And he's like, well, I just want a gray one, a navy one, and a white one. He probably hadn't thought that before. It was probably not until you guys were in that situation that you really posed the question and allowed him to really think about, oh, well, what do I want? And then now you have like the definition. It's like, okay, his style is like these 3 colors of t-shirts. But like it
Yeah,
takes
I dress the same. We both just want to be very
I love it. It's
simple
great. Yeah, but it's hard. And I think you just once you kind of come to some conclusions where you can kind of say out loud, oh, my style is not patterns, it's solids, it's not bright colors, it's, neutral colors. That is my style. And then now when you go forward, you will never make those same mistakes again.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I feel like I've learned so much from chatting with you, and
Oh,
I can
good.
definitely be more conscious about what it is that I'm purchasing and like the reason behind why I'm drawn to those things, so that I don't make any more vacation specific purchases.
I mean, it's okay sometimes, but you can still do your version of that
Yeah.
vacation, you know?
Yes, totally. And I think that's where I need to be better with like accessorizing and like using other things that aren't the whole outfit to make something feel more like it's my personality. And also like it's not just what I'm visually drawn to, because there's so many outfits that I think are like so beautiful, but they're just not for my body. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's always been a struggle for me, is like being on the curvier side, but I'm so drawn to like the shapes that work really well on like the straight up and down people.
Totally.
And so figuring all of those things out so that I actually feel good in what I'm wearing. That's it.
Yeah, and once you find a few brands that always flatter your body, then those can be your go-to brands and you can just always look to them first. And chances are they'll always have a version of the type of thing you're looking for and it'll be the type of like it'll fit your body perfectly because that's, certain brands do tend to like
Make stuff.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I get that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. It
Oh
was,
my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
yeah, good. I'm so glad. How can people find you, connect with you, be inspired? Inspired. I can't. like too late in the day, you guys.
You're right. You're
um,
right. This is like a lot for late afternoon.
yeah. And I feel like for moms, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon is like, it's officially well into happy hour time. And like, we should be winding down.
100%. I had a double espresso at like 2:30, and I think now I'm ready for wine.
Yes. People can
Um,
be inspired by your beautiful matching sweatsuits and all of the things that you make look so beautiful and so chic on
well,
your Instagram, which is at the Lifestyled, right?
the Lifestyled, or my website is thelifestyled.com. I'm basically the Lifestyled on
Okay,
everything.
great.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you, Elsa. Thank you so
so
much for having me.
much. Yeah. I am going to figure out how to stop recording. Pushing this button.